We have one great health story to go. Bristol Aging Better is a partnership of individuals and organisations working together to reduce isolation and loneliness among other people in Bristol. They've just published the little book of Awe, Aging Well Every Day, with key messages and tips on how to improve our well-being and happiness with a focus on later life. Here to tell us all about it is Bristol Aging Better's director, Adam Rees. How are you, Adam?
I am good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Imagine my joy when I open this and I see you're using the clang model. Connect, learn, be active, notice, give back, which is part of my clangers thing. It's great that everybody seems to be using it. What's great about you is that you also evaluate the projects you do. So you come up with these great ideas, but you actually monitor them to make sure they work.
That's right, yeah. We're looking at how do we tackle isolation and loneliness. So asking people how much social contact do they have every day and how much they want, which I think is the important bit.
So it's extraordinary. I did a gig at the Colston Hall as part of the Slapstick Festival a year or so ago, and I got all the audience to hug each other.
Great.
And I got the same booking the next year because somebody dropped out. And this bloke came up to me and he said in the interval, "Dr. Friendly, are you going to do that hugging thing again?" And I said, "Well, probably not, because I did it last year." And he said, "Well, I do wish you do it, Dr. Friendly, because that's the only hug I've had all year."
Oh.
And that is extraordinary.
That's
we
amazing,
forget, if you're in a friendship group and you've got lots of friends, you forget there are people out there who can go for months without any human contact at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's really bad for your health. That's the bit that's as bad for you as 15 cigarettes a day.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing for us is about actually how do we start those little bits of interaction. So you might go and get a newspaper or you go to a hairdresser, but actually it's a bit more of a meaningful conversation and adding that into those things.
So the C of the clang is connect. And we're basically leaves on a tree, aren't we? We're social animals. We like to feel we're part of something bigger. And what's interesting is it just can be little things, little connections can make a difference. So when you talk about your clang, they don't have to be big, massive things.
No.
You can be connecting with the birds on your bird table, can't you?
Yeah, of course. And I think that when we created the booklet, we wanted to create stories. So the booklet has 4 different characters and takes them through those clangs. And that's very much around that. When we were doing the photo shoot for this, some people had never met before, and it was just that opportunity to meet, and they've kept meeting. And I think that's the really nice thing, is when you make a spark, that can lead to a lot more.
Tell us about the history behind Bristol Aging Better, because we've got so many new organisations popping up now. And how did you arise, and where did your funding come from?
So we're funded by the Big Lottery Fund, and the project's been kind of in a stage since 2013. So there was a big application process, and Bristol was invited to bid, and a group of organisations came together. So at the moment we've got about 200 organisations from across Bristol who are part of the partnership, and they collectively bid for the money, which is £6 million over 5 years. We've been going about 18 months now, and the aim of the programme is to, as you said earlier, develop best practice around tackling isolation and loneliness, trial different projects.
So you fund the Reader, for example. The Reader we've just heard about, that's something you put money into. That's a fantastic idea, isn't it?
Yeah, and we fund lots of little projects like the Reader to see which one's working and how we can develop them and how we can scale them up. And in this climate, in terms of finances, it's also looking at how can we make things sustainable. So how can we make sure that at the end of the 5-year programme, there's still some of these projects going on.
What's interesting, when you look at any activity that's really popular, it generally gives you the full clang. It's interesting.
Yes, exactly.
Cooking, sourcing your own food, cooking for other people, learning about the ingredients, etc. That's connecting, learning, being active, noticing, giving back. Park runs could be, singing could be, dancing could be.
Yeah, and I think Bristol's quite unique in things like the playing out and the Make Sunday Special, because those really fit into those kind of the 5 ways to well-being, and how do you just connect with a neighbour and how do you learn from that?
It's interesting because these also, the clang applies whatever level of fitness you are. So I'm doing the dementia walk tomorrow. I'm launching that tomorrow, which is great. But, you know, even when you suffer from a chronic illness, you can still do your clang. The clangs might be different clang to what you were doing when you completely well.
Different scale.
But it's interesting when you interview people, isn't it, about what makes them happy. I'm always struck by how often it's the little things.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Little things make you, not having a new Ferrari very rarely makes you happy. It's little things like feeding the birds.
Exactly. When we started writing the booklet, we brought a group of about 50 old people together, and we asked them that question, what makes you happy? And they range from, you know, some of the things in the booklet around art classes and spending time with friends, but sometimes it was just somebody smiling at me on the street or knowing that my children were coming to visit. And I think those kind of things as well, as you said, there is that scale that different people are different about what they want, need.
So what are you doing? You've just produced this booklet. How are you distributing it? How are you following it up?
Yeah, so it's gone into every library in Bristol this week. We're working with the GPs to get them into that as well. We've got a lot of copies ready, so if anybody wants a set of copies for their group or their organisation, they can drop us a line and we can then pass them out and get them delivered.
There should be a whole clang workshop, shouldn't there? I have the whole clang thing every day. It's very simple. When people ask me what I do for a living, I do a bit of doctoring, I do a bit of comedy, I do a bit of broadcasting, I do a bit of writing. I just say I clang for a living.
Great.
I clang and then I eat well, relax and sleep to recover.
Brilliant.
So you clang during the day, you recover at night.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the relaxation thing's interesting because We're so tired and wired all the time, whatever age. There are so many people who spend all their time glued to screens and they don't consciously take time to relax. And I think that's often the bit of the day. If you've had a good clang during the day, often you do need time. My Australian Uncle Ron used to have a sitting room that was just for sitting. And he just sit round and sort of reflect on what had happened during the day. And we don't. I think that meditation stuff, and there's a big growth in mindfulness and stuff like that. But actually, if you meditate at the end of the day, you have gratitude for happy things that have happened during the day, you get double the benefit.
Yeah, and we've produced this booklet with an organisation in Bristol called Happy City.
Yeah.
And they, as I said, they were a part of it producing the booklet, but they're also doing some wellbeing champion training for us, which is similar to what you said. It's about workshops and how do you get people supporting and championing wellbeing. And then also they're doing another project for us around mindfulness. So actually, how do we bring those projects together?
All of this is great, and if you're leading a reasonably happy life anyway, clangers seem fairly common sense. But if you are living with depression or debt or domestic abuse or other things, it's actually much harder, isn't it? So sometimes, you think this stuff sounds easy, and it probably is, but actually if your life is really tough, it's not always easy to clang, is it?
No, and I think that when you look at the kind of the different ways to well-being, actually, as you said earlier, it's about scale. So if you're going through a really tough time, the first thing is connecting and getting some support, whether that be a friend or a professional who can give you some advice, and then you go through the other 4 stages, learning from them and being active. And I think it is, as you said earlier, just about that scale.
One of the things that amazes me about the human spirit, and one of the reasons it's a privilege to be a doctor, is that you hear stories over a lifetime of extraordinary resilience. I now work at the other end, so I now work with young people with chronic fatigue, and I say, 1 in 3 of you will probably live to 100. And you'll look back on your chronic fatigue years and think, what the hell was that? But it's interesting when you're working with older people, they will have survived pretty unpleasant stuff. So in all our lives, we have moments of great joy and boredom and happiness and sorrow, and often you can say to them that you have had some tough times, but you've survived them. That's really interesting, and the older they are, often the tougher stuff they will have survived.
And I suppose in terms of some of the well-being, it's about kind of accepting what has happened and moving past that. So when we talk to those older people who've gone through quite a lot, it's about they're able to talk about that, they're able to control, they understand that was in the past, and they're still moving forward.
It was interesting, the psychologist we had on earlier was talking about how you support people with burns, and she talked about something called acceptance and commitment therapy, which is almost like the serenity prayer. You accept the stuff that's happened in your life that you can't change, but you then commit to changing things that you can change. And have you had examples of people who they completely lack the motivation, and you get stuck in a rut of bad habits sometimes, don't you? And it's often swapping them for good. Have you had personal experiences yourself of people who turn their lives around? Yeah, definitely. Often by doing these simple little clang things.
Yeah, when we launched the Bristol Agent Better programme, we did a joint animation with Aardman, and there was we did a creature comfort style advert, and there was one of those characters one of the women was called Karen, and she was a bungee jumping pig in the animation.
Right.
And she talks about the fact that she went through quite a lot of struggles, and she started volunteering, and that got her connecting to people and learning about different things, and really she changed her life around, and I saw her last week, and she's really doing that kind of engaging and connection about the 5 ways to wellbeing that's keeping her active and involved in Bristol.
Wonderful ideas. Well, I would say, although it's aimed at people who are older, Clang is a model that works for everyone, so you can get yourself a copy of The Little Book of Awe.
Yeah.
Is it available online as well?
It is, yeah. There's an electronic version, so you can swipe through it on our website,
which is
bristolagentbetter.org.uk.
And if they want to find out about you in Healthy City Week, what do they need to do?
We're at one of the Bristol Community Health activities, I think, on the 20th of October, but we're supporting all the projects going through that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Adam Rees from Bristol Aging Better. Fantastic organisation.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. When you've actually evaluated it, come back and tell me.
I will, yeah.
I need some evidence to support the stuff that comes out of my mouth too. Excellent stuff. Coming up, it's Happy Hour.